Welcome to Yuping Stock Trend Prediction channel. So in this video, I'll talk about some great tools and also strategies to help you trade the stocks like a pro. So stay tuned, watch the whole video. You will get a lot of helpful information. So you are also welcome to subscribe Yuping Stock Trend Prediction channel. Show your encouragement so that I will be more motivated to provide more helpful prediction and analysis of the stock price. So in this video, first I will talk about the great tools I'm using, and then I will also talk about several examples using the real-time data compared with what I predicted in video number 60. And also in the video, I will talk about some good strategies so that can be used to help to trade the stocks, maximize the profit and minimize the risks. So trade the stock like a pro. This is Blash model. So this is a Tesla daily chart. This is a Tesla weekly chart. And you see for this Blash model, and these trend lines are also have the prediction function. So this trend lines for each day, for example, for each day, if you are checking daily charts, so these trend lines will be printed out after you receive the first the opening data, maybe like within the first minute or first couple of minutes data, real-time data, and then the trend line for that day is already printed out, and this trend line will basically almost the same, will not changed. Even though when it's have a very high momentum, when it approaches this trend lines, if it has a very high momentum, it may adjust it a little bit, but there's not a noticeable change or no big change for these trend lines. So basically all these trend lines, you will see this kind of a trend lines for the whole day. So that means it has the prediction function for that day, even for that week, or even for 60 minutes chart or 15 minutes chart. Basically, you will see those kind of similar the trend line. This kind of a daily chart or weekly chart, so it touches this the high price of this the real-time chart. So it touches very well for this point when the trend line, when the actual data reaches this trend line, and it started to decrease. So that's the actual fluctuation of the real-time stock data, and this is a trend line. So this kind of trend lines can capture this kind of a fluctuation, enclose them very well. So that means if you see this kind of a trend line, when it reaches to this point, then you know it's time to sell your stock. You can't just buy the stock around this time, because you will be very likely to be stuck if the stock price started to decrease. So kind of a high price, it also matches this high price maximum price trend line, matches very well. For some, at some point, if it has a very high momentum, it may exceed this maximum trend line, but there's another level of maximum trend line. So if it reaches to this high level, top level trend line, it's a big sign to show it's at the maximum price region. You need to sell your stock, and it has a very high risk if you still continue to hold your stocks. So even for this week, it started to increase, and the next week is still increase, and these trend lines also show it has an increasing trend, and it has a little bit more momentum, exceeded this maximum trend line, but in the next week, the coming week, it started to decrease, and also decreased. It started open at this price lower than this closing price, and also started to decrease. So basically it's a very good point. So even for this Tesla price at this increasing trend, and also this kind of trend lines also captures this real-time fluctuation or real-time stock price change captured very well. And you see for this daily chart, that's previous days. You see this previous days is also enclosed very well, and the best the benefit is this kind of trend lines. Once it was generated, it basically it will not change during that day or during that week or during that month. So that's a very good helpful tool. So if I use this one, use this kind of a tool, that will greatly increase the chance of the opportunity to earn more profit and reduce more risk. So this is a Blash model, and it has some kind of the prediction function, because it is based on the real-time data. So this prediction, the prediction trend line, will be generated after you receive the first data point in the actual time frame. So another prediction model I have used a lot in my previous video, that is a prediction model. So this prediction model, that is daily chart and the weekly chart, that is can be based on the historic data. So that means because I need to work during the weekday, I don't have time to make videos during the weekday, so I can't just use the previous Blash model to show you the trend line. Maybe in the future, if I'm taking vacation, maybe I can start to demonstrate that the prediction function of that Blash model. But since I only have time to, right now I only have time to make videos during weekend, so the only data available to me is the previous historic data, like the previous week or previous day, like the last Friday's data. So this is based on the historic data, and this model will show the next week or next day's prediction, predicted maximum price or minimum price. For example, this is the Tesla daily chart, and this is the Tesla weekly chart, and this is last Friday, that's yesterday. Today is February 19th, Saturday. So this is yesterday's data, last Friday's data. It was closed here, and then this point basically will show the likely the maximum and the minimum price for the coming day or early next week. So this will show the actual data predicted maximum or minimum price for the coming week or coming month or coming daily, based on the previous historic data. So I can use this model to provide a prediction. So it's a different model. I have used this model in my previous chart. So basically this is a kind of great tools I have been used. So for example, for this kind of a weekly chart, you see weekly chart is this kind of maximum price also touches this trend lines, exactly touches this trend lines, and started to turn the direction. And you see this matches very well. Even for some points, there's some special dot that will show another level of defense of minimum price. So if it reaches to this kind of special dot, it's a different flag for the minimum price. So it's also a good time to buy the stock at this time. So this is a daily chart, weekly chart. So if you change it into the monthly chart, you can also see this kind of similar trends, even for monthly chart. So I think in one of my previous the video prediction for Tesla, even before that month was completed, I predicted that for that month it will drop to the price of $900. So, and it fulfilled my prediction at that month. So even for this monthly chart, you see when it reaches to the maximum price, reaches to the maximum price trend line, it started to decrease the direction. So So this touches this trend line very well, and this trend line was generated even before this month was started. So you can use this kind of trend lines to capture the minimum and maximum price very well. And this is basically the bar chart. If you turn it into the candlestick, for example, if you change this chart style to candlestick, and then basically for daily chart, each bar is basically a candlestick of that day, the real-time data, the candlestick of that day. If that's the red color, that means the closing is lower than the opening. The opening is here, the closing price is here, the high price is here, low price is here. So if it's green, that means the closing price here is higher than the opening price here. So that's the high and the low. So this candlestick is also very commonly used by many professional traders. So this is just a kind of some tools. And for some good examples, in some of my previous videos, I also provide some comparison between my prediction in the previous videos and with the actual real-time data. And a lot of many examples will show there's a very good prediction, the consistency between the predicted value and the actual value. For example, in last video number 60, Yupin video 60 uploaded to YouTube. In that video, I predicted Tesla, AMC, and the GME stock, and I predicted the AMC and the GME will have a increasing trend. So it's a kind of a good time to buy that. And the Tesla, in video number 60, I predicted Tesla for the weekly chart, or weekly fluctuation range, will have 792 to 923. And in that video, I thought about maybe like 792 could be maybe reached in 1 week or 2 weeks, or maybe in this month. So I predicted the fluctuation range for the early week after the video number 60 is 823 to 886 for Tesla, 823 to 886 for Tesla. And the real-time data started on Monday, and it opened at 800. It's the minimum price on Monday, or it's $838. It's also very close to the minimum price I predicted. And on Wednesday, it reaches to 926.7. It's also the maximum price of that week. And that maximum price for the real-time maximum price, $926.7, is just $3.7 higher than what I predicted the maximum price for that week. I predicted the maximum price is $923. The actual maximum price in that week is $926.7. There's only $3.7 difference. And even for early week, on Monday, exactly 1 day after my prediction in video number 60, the maximum price is $898. And you can see this is basically the last week. That's a Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. And on Monday, that $898, this data, $898 is also very close to the maximum price I predicted for the early week is $886. So it's also very close. I mean, for the AMC and the GME, if you check the AMC real-time data, you can see during the last week, that's the week after the video number 60, GME and the AMC is continuously increased. So you can see GME you see this week is increasing from Monday to Thursday, and has decreased during the Friday. And from the GME, is the weekly maximum price is $133.2. This point, $133.2, and that's basically is very close to the predicted maximum price for early next week. $135. I predicted $135 for the early next week for GME. I mean, it right now, last week, it didn't exactly reach the maximum price predicted by that week. I mean, right now, the general stock market has some kind of a downtrend, the trend. So GME basically is also affected by that overall general trend, and it didn't exhibited the full potential. So it reaches, but at least it reaches the predicted maximum price for the early week. It's $135. That's a predicted maximum value, and the actual maximum price for the early week, that's happened on Wednesday, and also the maximum price for that week is $133.0. $133 versus $135. There's only $2 of difference between the predicted value and the maximum value and the real-time data. So there's only $2 of difference for the $135 of unit share price for the real-time data. So the percentage error is very, very low. So it's a very good, also good prediction. And even for the AMC, if you check the daily chart, and also it has the increasing trend from Monday to Thursday, and basically it has the increasing trend. And for the AMC, I predicted the maximum price for the early next week is $21.8, and during the last week, the AMC, the maximum price for on Wednesday, that's also the maximum price for the week, is $20.6. $20.6 versus $21.8. That's just a $1.2 difference between the predicted maximum price and the actual maximum price for the AMC. And the predicted AMC fluctuation for that week has a little bit higher, $23.1. So since it's the general right now, recently all the stocks price will be affected by the general stock market. It's a kind of has some kind of a decreasing momentum, so it didn't have the full potential to reach the full maximum price of $23.1, but it reaches the maximum price predicted for the early week, that's $21.8. The actual maximum price is $20.6. There's only $1.2 difference. So that's still a very good prediction with a very small prediction error. So that will also show there's a very good accuracy for this kind of a prediction model and the analysis model I'm using. And so that's basically some kind of a real-time example to show this kind of analysis models. So next, I will talk about some kind of strategies that can be used to implement some kind of a good trading experience, so that it will make you act like a pro. So that's a good strategies. For example, that depends on how much money you are investing and what's the goal you want to set for your trading. For example, if you want to do the long-term trade, like doing the trade, like wanted to make the maximum profit or good profit during a long time, for example, in a month or a few months or maybe yearly or those type of thing. So if you check the monthly chart, and that means, for example, for this, as Tesla have a much higher fluctuation. So if you have captured the good trend, you will get more profit to take advantage of those kind of fluctuations. For example, for Tesla, that's a monthly chart. So even for this kind of a monthly chart, and this is a prediction model, and you can see this also captures this kind of changes very well. For these trend lines capture this kind of a maximum price, minimum price very well. So if you wanted to do the long-term trade, so that means if you see this kind of long-term, for example, if you purchase a stock price at here, if you see the trend line is always going up, and if it's an increasing trend, that means you can still hold your stocks. And because this trend lines will be generated earlier, so you will get an idea about if it's still in increasing trend or it will start to decrease. So if you are doing long term, and then maybe you can still hold it and then make a much better profit if you continuously hold it from $200 and then you sell it at $1,241. That means basically you will earn $1,000 per share. But you know, this is basically, for example, in 2020, and this is in 2021, and this is 2022. So if you wanted to do a long-term trade, then that means if you wanted to hold it and capture the increasing trend, then you need to basically filter this kind of noise or fluctuations in some weeks or in some days, because in some weeks or in some days it may have some kind of decreasing or fluctuation, decreasing momentum. That means that means your earned money will start to decrease. So that means it will show some kind of a decreasing of your profit. So, but it depends on how you want to make the investment. So you need to either resist those kind of risk and tolerate those kind of risk and potential temporary loss, and then so that you can make a profit in a long-term run. In the long term, for example, if you want to make a mid-term investment, like during some weeks or during 1 week or those type of thing, and then if you go to the short mid-term, like weekly chart, and you see this kind of a weekly chart, that means in some weeks, for example, in this week, and it fluctuated in this week, and this week's fluctuation basically in monthly chart is probably just in some short period of time during that month. And but if you wanted to take advantage of those kind of changes or price difference during that week, then that means you need to do the trade investment based on the weekly chart. And when you do on weekly chart, that means for each week, on each week you will see this kind of a trend, like an increasing trend, opening, that's a opening, that's a closing. So if you know this kind of trend lines, and also know the minimum price and the maximum price, and then you can just take advantage of those price difference between that week. Or even during some weeks, a few weeks, there's still some kind of increasing trend or decreasing trend. For example, during these few weeks, that's 6 weeks, during these 6 weeks, it still has a decreasing trend. So that means if you purchase if you need to, this is still a high price, okay? So depends on which type of investment you are using. So if anyway, for short, mid-term or short term, so when it reaches to this maximum price, and then not good to hold it, you may start to sell it. But if you are still doing the long-term trading for this week, during those months or year, this point may not be exactly the maximum price of the month or those years. So depends on when you wanted to sell or wanted to buy. Depends on which type of investment you are doing. So, but anyway, I already covered that the long-term investment. For mid-term, for example, if you wanted to take advantage of those kind of a profit or price difference during several weeks or a couple of weeks or just 1 week, then you need to think about this kind of decreasing trend or increasing trend during those kind of weeks. So for example, if you see this kind of decreasing trend, that means if you sell it, the price at this point or short it, and then you probably don't want to close your short during those kind of decreasing trend during those few weeks. So that's still the mid-term investment. If you are doing the short term, like daily trade, day trade, or maybe even just doing the trade for 60 minutes or 15 minutes, or even a few minutes, 5 minutes or 3 minutes, there's still some trend. So I will show you later. So even for this kind of a daily, you will see there's some kind of a decreasing trend. For example, for this kind of decreasing trend from this point to this point, there's a decreasing for these days. So these days decreasing will also be reflected in that week or in a couple of weeks. So basically, so if you wanted to do some kind of short-term investment, and you may also take advantage of this kind of a big trend, decreasing trend, and maybe like ignore some kind of fluctuations during some days, and then you can make more money. So it really depends on how you want to trade and how you want to make a profit. So this is a 60 minutes chart, and you see this 60 minutes chart for last Friday for Tesla data last Friday, and it opened very high for this 60 minutes, opened at this point, and it started to decrease. If you can take advantage of this big drop, and you can maybe like short the stock. So for this kind of a candlestick chart, this candlestick chart can be applied for any chart. For example, this is a weekly chart. If you want to turn this bar chart into candlestick chart for any time frame chart. So you are welcome to subscribe Yupin Stock Trend Prediction channel.